Hello, guys, and welcome to the next subject.
When Sergi and I first got married, I had moved to Florida from New York and I had just finished my nursing degree in New York. So I went back to New York to take my boards. And that was the first time we were apart in our short married life. And we missed each other so much, but I was so stressed out about the boards that it kind of helped me not to miss Sergi too much.
Mhm.
Well, when I came back and Sergi picked me up from the airport, I assumed that we were going to go out for dinner because Sergi doesn't really cook. Well, to my surprise, instead of driving to a restaurant, he took me home. Well, I thought, okay, I guess we're gonna change and then go out for dinner. But when we walked in the house, I saw that he had made dinner. It was so sweet that he did that because I know he doesn't cook, so it was very surprising and romantic for me to see that he went all out and did something that's not natural for him, and he made me dinner, and he also made this beautiful cake. It was like a masterpiece.
Oh, you're just too nice.
It was. I had to take pictures and send it to my family. And for those of you who don't know, Sergi was actually finished pastry school and back in Belarus, so he does a much better job decorating cakes than I do. And anyway,
Mhm.
so he made this wonderful dinner for us, and he also bought us bikes. So
Mhm.
bicycles, not like motorcycles.
Mhm.
And it was just so nice and so surprising and romantic that he went all out and thought of this beautiful way to welcome me home. And it was very sweet to know that he was thinking of me that whole time that we were apart. And um, I just thought, I married such a romantic guy.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot of fun on those bikes and went to Colorado Beach, and we even had the rack. We put it in the back of the car, and you drive somewhere where it's nice to ride, and we just had fun.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So when we're talking about marriage and intimacy, uh, when life gets busy, first thing that goes out the window is intimacy and romance, because well, you kind of have to uh, be intentional about those things for them to happen and to happen often.
Yeah, and I guess we sort of think, oh, we're just so busy, and obviously my spouse is going to understand, and we just kind of put it on the back burner,
Hmm.
and it's too bad.
It's too bad because both of us and all of us as married couples, we enjoy those moments. They're so special, and when we take time to create them, it's just an amazing thing. Why is romance and intimacy so important in marriage? Well, it keeps things spiced up. It's something that brings this joy,
Excitement.
excitement in marriage, and that's how we show affection to each other. That we
Mhm.
love each other. That you mean so much to me that I'm willing to go through all those steps and through all these hurdles, maybe sometimes, to show that you mean a lot to me.
Keeps the chemistry between us alive and well.
That's right.
And
Electricity.
yep. So, intimacy is also another way for us to renew our wedding vows. Every time that we're intimate with each other, we remember those vows and that they're only with this one person that we cherish and value more than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when we're intimate with each other, we are vulnerable and we open up to each other in a way that we don't do with anybody else. So that is such a special bond that exists only between the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
We often think that romance and intimacy in a marriage are all about spontaneity. And yes, being spontaneous is awesome and it really keeps the excitement in marriage. But romance and intimacy also take a lot of intentionality. We have to be intentional and make the time and sometimes even schedule the time to spend time together, to do fun things together, to be intimate. And it's important, like we talked about before. And right now, we're going to talk about several things, practical ways of how we can make sure to keep that romance alive in our marriage. And the
Mm-hmm.
first one is the most obvious and the easiest, I think. It's doing things together that we both enjoy doing. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that when we were dating, when we first got married, there were things that we like to do together, that maybe you guys like to go watch movies, or you like to go bike riding, or um, to a coffee shop, or going out for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that we like to do already.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to make the time to do them. So
Mm-hmm.
Sergi and I, we like to go on walks and talk while we're walking. We like to go on bikes. Too bad are those beautiful bikes were stolen, but we need to
Yeah,
replace them.
we're replacing them soon. Yes.
Yeah. So just do things that you both enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
When we're friends, when we have that playfulness and camaraderie between us, it really, really makes that bond between us so much stronger. And I have heard somewhere, I don't remember where, but I heard that for men, the way that they stay close to their spouse or to their friends is when they do things side by side, when they're doing something together. That's when they feel the closest. For women, it's they feel the closest when it's face to face, when they're talking and sharing. So, like girls get together, they like to talk. Guys, you don't see them just sitting and talking. They actually like to watch a movie together, or the game, or doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to incorporate that into our marriages and do things as friends, because when we're friends first, that's going to keep our romance definitely alive.
So pretty much remembering what each other was like and actually doing those things. Maybe putting them on a schedule without letting the other person know, and keep it exciting uh, because it's there. When we know what our spouse like, when we don't do it, how good does it?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make it any good.
Yeah. And when you're especially busy and life is just crazy, maybe you have little children, or you're especially busy at work or doing some kind of a ministry, it's hard to make the time for each other, because it's like, well, we're always going to be together. We're
Mm-hmm.
married for life, so we'll get around to it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But life gets busy, and it's always busy in one way or another. So we need to stay close together, especially during those busy times. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we were fostering, we had two little boys, so it was really hard to find babysitters and to do things. And sometimes what we would do is, when the children would go to sleep in the evenings, we'd go in the car, put them in the car seats, and we would stop by some kind of a coffee shop, get coffee, get something to eat, like a treat, like a pastry or something. And we would just drive around and talk.
Mm-hmm.
The kids were sleeping. We'd turn on some music
Mm-hmm.
softly, and we would just talk and drink our coffee and eat our pastries. And it was just, we had such a fun time, even though
Mm-hmm.
it was such a simple thing. But at the time, that sometimes that was the only way we could get away together.
Yeah. So the next thing is doing new things together, and you know what you've done in the past, and the fun things that you have, and you kind of know in which line of what kind of things your spouse likes, and do something crazy once in a while, something that's the other person's not expecting. Maybe go skydiving and air balloon riding, or snorkeling, or
Zip
uh,
lining.
yeah, something fun, something exciting, something that the other person doesn't expect. But and those new things, they bring out a new personality, new memories, and new what am I trying to say? Um,
Just keeps it exciting.
yeah, just it has this new excitement brought to your marriage. So
Mm-hmm.
we like to do new things, and maybe travel into a different state, different city, seeing new things, and or different country for that
Mm-hmm.
matter. Our tradition is, if I take Olga out to a brand new restaurant that we've never been to on her birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yay.
we'll never run out of restaurants. There's so many restaurants around us, and we try something new food, new restaurant, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see something
Mm-hmm.
new in your romance, in your marriage.
Yep. Yeah, it's really great when we do something exciting and maybe we conquer some fears. Like we both went skydiving. We
Mm-hmm.
went as a group, not as a couple, but like when you just conquer something so scary
Mm-hmm.
together, it like you're like, whoa, we did this together. It was amazing.
Yeah, and we did it in Russia, so we didn't have a person in the back that we jumped. We just had to actually jump by ourselves. So it was, yeah, a little crazy, but it was fun. We
Hmm.
actually remember that. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And if you're really not into adrenaline things like that, then like Sergi said, maybe traveling is your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just do something that you like, but maybe try a different aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Different variation.
Mm-hmm. And the last thing is to do things that you know that your spouse likes and not necessarily that you do. I know that a lot of times, for example, like guys like to watch sports,
Mm-hmm.
and they like to go to sports events, and when they're dating their wife or they just get married, the wife is so like into it with him. She'll watch the game with him, she'll go to different games. But once they've been married for a few years, it's like, well, you go hang out with your buddies. I do not like sports.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to do this anymore. Or, there's just so many things like that that you know that your spouse likes to do, but it's not necessarily your favorite thing
Mm-hmm.
to spend time on. But it's so cool when we can actually, it's a statement that we make that you're so important to me that I'll
Mm-hmm.
do the things that you like, because
Yeah.
I like to spend time with you and you like to do this, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna do it with you. So if your husband likes to golf, go to the go
Mm-hmm.
golfing with him. Tell him how hot he looks when he's swinging that club.
And it doesn't have to happen every time. Uh, your husband may go out and do something all the time, but make time to do some of the things with him,
Yep.
to show him that you love him, and that it's important uh, for you to do that with him. Or if your wife likes to go to a farmer's market, or
Yep, that's right.
to yeah, Olga likes food and experiment in different places where they talk about food and they serve different food, and and that's what we like to do. We go out to farmers market and
Mhm.
look at different things and talk to different people. It's fun because I know that she likes that certain thing.
Mhm.
Some of the practical tips of what we do in our marriage to keep things alive and fresh. For example, flirt with each other. It's perfectly legal in marriage, and it's actually very desirable.
Mhm.
So spikes things up and do fun things with each other. Um,
Flirting is so much fun. Flirting is a way to keep things playful and a way to keep things light in our marriage, not like so intense and bogged down in all the seriousness
mhm.
of everyday life. But it keeps things spicy and fresh and light and fun.
Yes, so for example, if my wife is cooking in the kitchen, I'll come up behind her and give her a non-sexual touch or and a kiss, even though I would rather do something else. But I know that she likes that certain thing, and
Hmm.
that's what we do.
Yeah, or sometimes we cook together, but
Mhm.
this is like when we're not rushed and we have like a whole evening ahead of us, not without anywhere to go.
Mhm.
So we'll cook together, and while we're cooking, we have so much fun. We talk, we listen to music,
Mhm.
we chop things together and try things, and it's so much fun.
Yes, it is. If you're like, for example, if your wife likes flowers, uh, I usually bring flowers when Olga doesn't expect it,
Yeah, I
and
guess.
so it's fun. I would bring it sometimes after work and or whatever. Um, so where Olga likes to write notes to me, and sometimes when I open up my cooler when I'm at work, where I keep my drinks, um, I see a note or a sandwich that has a note written right on the bag, um, and wow, I just feel so special to when I read that note, and while I eat my sandwich, it just it's so special, and I feel so cherished, so loved, and so desired as a husband. It's amazing. Don't make fun of each other, especially in front of other people. Only when both people think something is funny is actually is funny. Otherwise, you putting somebody down.
It's hurtful.
It's very hurtful. Yes, when both of you know about each other so much that you won't share those things with other people, but you know those things, and it's very hurtful when you bring something out of your very personal relationship out into the open, and it's you think it's funny, but the other person doesn't.
Yeah.
Teasing is okay, and it's
Teasing
fun.
is great.
Yeah.
It's part of flirting.
Yep. Yep. So make sure that what you're saying is actually funny for both of you.
Yeah, because if we cross that line and we make fun of each other, especially in front of other
Mm-hmm.
people, it kind of ruins that trust, and
Yep.
the other person will be afraid that, what are they gonna say this time? That's
Mm-hmm.
gonna embarrass me in front of others or even at home,
Mm-hmm.
Physical attraction is also something that we do need to focus on. And it's not really about our physical body or the shape that we are. It's more about how we carry ourselves, the self-esteem that we have, the confidence that we have. And that's what is so important, because you could be look like a model, but you could be so insecure in yourself that it just hurts your physical relationship when you're not confident in who you are. And it's important to put in an effort to look attractive to your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, through my lifetime, I've looked my absolute worst, and Sergi has loved me through it all when I was dealing with a lot of illness. But it's important that we primp and put on our makeup and do our hair and pick out nice clothes for each other to enjoy, because we're physically attracted to each other. So we want to put our best efforts into looking great for our spouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes you feel like I'll just throw something on and it's fine. It's just two of us. No, two of you are the most important people to each other, not the other people that will see something. So make an effort. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, and I want to dress up mostly for Sergi than for other people. Because what is that saying that I would dress up and make myself look great when I'm going out to see other people and I'm just looking my worst when I'm with my husband? I want to please him more than anybody else.
Yeah, and that's very noticeable. So many times when I come home from work and Olga looks great, and I know she didn't go anywhere. She was just at home, and she spruced herself up and made herself beautiful. And just for me, I feel very special.
Thank you. So the physical part is, like I said, it's more about what you feel inside and how you feel about yourself. When you're confident in yourself, that confidence, it's very evident, and your spouse feels that too.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, it's also important to think about the most common things like brushing your teeth, taking a shower. If you came home and you were sweating all day and you want to have some action,
That's to the guys. Mm-hmm.
no, it's to everybody. It's a big turnoff when somebody is very sweaty or they have horrible breath. So if you want a lot of making out, brush your teeth. I mean, we're married. We see each other when we just woke up. We see each other when we're working in the garden or washing the car or whatever. We see each other in all those times, and of course, we're comfortable with each other. But let's make an effort to look the best that we can for our spouse as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
God created sexual intimacy as a special, sacred bond between a husband and a wife. And it's something, it is really so special when we can make love to each other, express that love to each other in a physical way. Mm-hmm. And it's like a spiritual connection. It's a renewal of our vows. Mm-hmm. And one of the most important aspects of our sexual life is communication, communicating about that part of our life. And so many couples don't want to talk about sex, and because it's so uncomfortable, and it's such a deep thing. It's so deep and personal, and we're like afraid to talk about it. But when we start talking about it, we make that bond so much stronger, and that our experience in lovemaking so much better. We always need to be careful about the way we communicate to our spouse. But when we're talking about our intimate life, we need to be especially careful. We need to be so gentle when we're approaching this subject, because it can be so hurtful. Just like we said, it's such an intimate, personal, and vulnerable part of us that we don't want to be hurtful when we talk about it with our spouse. Mm-hmm. And we can take this kind of scary and negative experience of like bringing up something that maybe we're not happy with and turn it around and make it into a positive experience. So instead of, when we're talking about it, say, oh my goodness, you're just doing it all wrong. And that just like, boom, shoots that confidence right out of our spouse and just like puts up those walls between us. But instead, bring up the things that you enjoy together, and say something like, you know what, I would really I really think it would be fun if we could try this.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of it being a negative experience, you're making it into a really positive one that you're both looking forward to this new thing that you want to try.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're married and you go through life year by year, you just get better and better at making love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why so many studies show that married couples actually enjoy the best sex,
Mm-hmm.
because I think we just know each other so well and we learn to please each other in ways that make the experience so amazing.
Yeah, that enhances the experience, that we have, the bond we have with each other. And I think it's a very important thing of a spiritual bond that we have
Mm-hmm.
with each other, that we're open, we're vulnerable with each other, and that we're clean with each
Yeah.
other. But one of the things that really helps us have conversations, or uncomfortable conversations, is reading books together that talk about sex
Mm-hmm.
and things that we normally don't talk about. It helps us to get into subjects that are not as comfortable subjects.
Mm-hmm. And one of the books that we've really enjoyed reading and we recommend it to anybody is a book by the author Kevin Lehman, and it's called Sheet Music. So pick up that book and read it. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And another book is the author's name is David Clark, and he wrote a book called Kiss Me Like You Mean It. And both of those books are amazing, and they are hilarious. I mean, you're gonna laugh through every single chapter. They're so funny.
Mm-hmm.
They keep it lighthearted, but at the same time, they go through so many deep subjects.
Mm-hmm.
Those books really, really helped us to communicate with
They
each other.
absolutely helped us in our marriage, in our sex life. Sure. Yep. Expectations in sex life, it's just such a very touchy subject, where a husband may think, I would like to experience this, and the wife thinks, oh, I don't think so. I think this is good. Um, so, like Olga said, communication is so important, where both of you are open and voice your expectations. This is what I would like to try. This is what I would like, and this what we did in the past, 1, 2, or 3. Those things were great, or I don't really care for. And there are different types of lovemaking or sex. There's a quickie, there's a normal one that we usually do, or there's a celebrational or a special occasion type lovemaking session, to where we experience with new things, or we do something that we haven't done before, or we set aside a lot more time for. And all those three have their place in marriage. And it's good that we communicate before we even do it. That way, we both know that this is what we're doing today, and it helps us to stay connected and stay on the same page.
Yep. And sometimes we have these Hollywood expectations for sex,
Mm-hmm.
because in our society right now, sex is just all over the place. I mean, it's in movies, in TV shows, they talking about sex everywhere. And we just have these expectations of we're going to have like this boom, this crazy cataclysmic sexual experience. And while we're making love, instead of losing ourselves in each other and making love to your spouse, you're kind of grading yourself in the back of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So
that grading is not helpful at all.
yeah,
You need to think of another person when you are making love, and that's
of
absolutely
the other person,
of the
not someone else,
correct.
of your spouse.
Yeah, think about that, of your spouse, and what does she like, what does he like, and that's how. And talking about those things, again, we're repeating ourselves, but talking about them with each other, or right after you had this making love session, and it's okay to kind of talk about how what kind of experience did you have. I think it's a very emotionally good thing to uh, compliment each other on how things went. Guarding our marriage against affairs is very important. we set guardrails to keep our marriage important to ourselves as a couple. Some of the things that we don't allow ourselves to do is I won't go on a trip with another female or a person of an opposite sex at work. Um, you can always request to have a third person in there or go with a different person.
Or take your spouse along if that's possible.
Right. So, or sharing emotional things about your
Mm-hmm.
marriage or about your relationship with the person of opposite sex. It's you're walking into a situation where you don't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, Porn is just not acceptable for marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that should be even in mind, uh, pretty much.
Yeah, it's very destructive in a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And when we set these guardrails, we do it because we care about our marriage and it's very important to us.
Mm-hmm. And as each one of us, we are so different, and you know where your trap is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't self yourself up to be in a situation where you don't want to end up in, um, because you understand that your marriage is for life, and you're gonna have so much enjoyment with your spouse throughout so many years to come, and you don't want that temporary experience with something or somebody to ruin that for your spouse in your marriage.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The best way to guard your marriage from affairs is to stay emotionally connected.
Mm-hmm.
And not only will it guard your marriage against affairs, but it will also keep you close together and it will keep that romance alive in your marriage. When we spend time together, when we do things for each other, when we do different things, when we flirt with each other, when we take the time to communicate, when we talk about uncomfortable subjects, that is going to make marriage so much better, and romance and intimacy is going to just come naturally to us.
Mm-hmm. And think about the many years that you guys are gonna spend together, and your romance and your sex life and all the things that will happen in the future. Don't let something temporary spoil that for you.
Mm-hmm.
The trust is lost very easy, but gained very, very difficult, and it takes a lot of time. So don't allow yourself to play with things that are not uh, conducive to your good relationship in your marriage. And enjoy each other. It's an amazing thing that God created sex for us to enjoy and romance for us to have fun in marriage.